Okay, continuation of our Course 3 exam, Res 3, and we're on question number 9. So Evan is a listing person for 123 Main Street. He just received 3 competing offers from 3 different brokerages. Okay. Now, what's required in regards for what he should do according to the Business Brokers Act, the REBA Act? Now, the answer in this question is C, because all he has to do is disclose the number of competing offers to each buyer.
Yeah, I didn't read A properly.
Yeah, exactly. When I read A, it said providing details of the competing offers, and that's totally wrong. Can't do that. But all we have to do is tell each buyer, hey, there's 2 other offers. Hey, there's 2 other offers. Hey, there's 2 other offers.
Okay.
That's all we got to do. Just let them know. So you've done the disclosure there, okay?
Okay.
Number 10 is according to the Real Estate Business Brokers Act, at what point must a listing agreement be reduced to writing and submitted to a seller for his or her signature? So for number 10, we were looking at what point must a listing agreement be reduced to writing and submitted. Okay, so for signatures it says at the earliest practical opportunity, but at the latest before any buyer makes an offer. So A says at the earliest practical opportunity, they all actually say, they start off with that. But it says at the latest before any buyer makes an offer, you would want to have the listing signed first. So if you're working with a seller who's extremely difficult and says, I'm not signing the listing until you have a buyer.
Can you even list a house without listing paperwork?
You can have a verbal agreement that can carry forward usually in court.
That sounds sketchy.
But it's not a good idea, as you know. But this question is just asking you in the case, like what's the latest you would wait to sign? So this is saying earliest practical opportunity would mean sign it first.
Yeah, I figured the listing paper has.
But it says, but at the latest before any buyer makes an offer.
Okay.
So if the buyer makes the offer and you don't have a listing agreement, you don't have your commission protected, tough luck. Okay? So this one gives a couple of other choices, but the first one is you just have to do it before any buyer makes an offer. That's the only thing you're looking for.
That's understandable.
So for number 11, we are looking at which of the following would be a duty owned to a brokerage by a buyer who has signed a BRA, Buyer Representation Agreement. So which of the following is the duty owned to the brokerage? So what does the buyer owe to the brokerage after signing the BRA? What's he responsible for?
Got to read it properly. What are the following?
Which of the following would be a duty owned to a brokerage? So what is the brokerage going to be getting? What are they getting out of signing a buyer to a BRA? What are they going to get out of it?
Is remuneration. What does that mean?
Commission. Money.
So
means money. They're going to get commission paid. That's what D means.
Okay.
So the answer is D.
Remuneration is commission. Okay.
That's right. That's exactly what it is. 12 is which of the following information could be obtained by a buyer's lawyer performing a non-title search of a property? What do you think?
We went over this the other day.
Which of the following information could be obtained by a buyer's lawyer performing a non-title search of a property?
So let me just clarify. What is a non-title? Are they just saying if the buyer's
title is just like showing his name and if he's a resident of Canada or not? You know, title search, is that the right owner?
So would that be the correct answer? I don't know this one, so just tell me what the right one is and explain why. Outstanding mortgages? I think he'd see them, but if it's a non-title search.
Yeah, it's a non-title search, so he would in the title he would see the mortgages. So if it's a non-title search, you see status of property taxes.
Okay.
For non-title search of a property. So 12 would be C.
Okay, so So I guess I don't understand why someone would do a non-title search if your lawyers. Why would they do a non-title search?
Well, non-title search is so he's not looking at the title; he's just looking for the status of anything else that's against the property.
Okay.
So let's just say that the city has put a lien on your house for the property taxes.
All right.
So you would do a non-title search. So like you're going to search the title first. Oh, it's Kyle Jeffrey. Oh, he owns a property. He owns a mortgage with Scotiabank. I see what's the outstanding balance.
Okay.
So and then I say, you know what? Let me just do a non-title search just to see where he stands on the property taxes. How much does this guy owe?
Okay, right.
And then you call the city to see how much you owe on the property tax, and you find out there's a lien on there too. And that's something he would need to know before. You can't just say, the lawyer can't just say, hey, guess what, I'm going to hold back $10,000 because I'm not sure if you paid the property taxes,
so the
right?
lawyers always do a non.
Yeah, so this is the buyer's lawyer.
Okay, got it.
Buyer's lawyer is doing it.
Okay.
Because they just want to make sure that there's not going to be an issue. Okay? And 13 is the purchase of title insurance can benefit a buyer as it could result in their being able to avoid the expense of what?
So the person's title insurance can benefit a buyer.
So the expense that they always want to avoid is for a new survey for the property. The answer is A. 14, which of the following is the correct statement as it relates to condominium?
For the long ones, just give me the answer because it's too long for me to read.
So it's going to be B, because unit owners in a condominium are typically subject to use restrictions, such as no signs permitted unless approved by the corporation. So what that means for you is that in a condo, they're going to put certain rules. You can't put a for sale sign or a rent sign in your window of your condo.
Okay.
So there's no signs allowed in the condominium windows usually, or there's no sign allowed on the property. So when you drive up to a condo, you don't see all these for sale signs, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They're not allowed.
Okay.
That's what it's referring to. So that's a correct statement and related to condominiums.
Okay.
15 is mobile home parks where the homes are being used as a permanent basis by the families that live there are subject to legislative requirements set out in the which of these options?
I'm going to guess D because they don't, it's not a condominium.
Nope.
They're not renting the thing, so it's not landlord and tenant.
Nope.
And I don't think it'd be set up as a cooperative because it's a mobile home. So I'm
Correct. It's D, Residential Tenancies Act, because it's a permanent basis and they're living there permanently.
Okay.
So 16 is which of the following is a requirement underground storage tanks? What's a requirement?
All contractors working on fuel equipment must be registered to say. All requirements apply to tanks for both fuel and water. Fuel tanks for building levels are below grade. C.
C. All contractors working on fuel oil equipment must be registered with TSSA.
Okay.
Always. 17. May is purchasing an older cottage and intends to put in a new septic tank. The size of the septic tank will be used to determined by what?
I'd say the number of kitchen and bathroom fixtures in the cottage, maybe.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. So the size of the septic size will be determined by the number of kitchen and bathroom fixtures in the cottage.
Okay.
Always, right? Perfect. 18. Seller Smith has listed his property with ABC Realty. A buyer, when inspecting the property, asks if the nearby school offers secondary education. The seller, who did not know about it, asked the question to his neighbor, who affirmed the fact. The buyer relied upon the information and purchases the property. Later, the buyer discovers that the nearest school is about 3 miles away. As a result, the buyer decided not to close the deal. What is the basis of the buyer's decision to terminate the contract?
Would it be reckless because he kind of just asked the neighbor?
Yeah, that's a reckless regard of truth because that's not really a way you'd.
Not a reputable source.
Yeah, that's not the way you'd do confirm something that's so important to somebody.
Okay. So for these next ones, they're pretty long. So just read the question and just give me the answer and just quickly explain why. Otherwise,
okay.
If you read them all, I'll take
sure. Salesperson Lee of ABC Realty is insisting Mr. and Mrs. Gandhi to provide information required for the individual identification information form. Mr. and Mrs. Gandhi have already signed a buyer customer service agreement with ABC Realty and are reluctant to give out any more information. Which of the following is a valid option for salesperson Lee to comply with the requirements of Proceeds of Crime and Money Laundering and Terrorist Financing Act. So the answer is A. It says make a note in the form and proceed with the transaction that they're declining to give further information. Okay. And that's all you have to do. So you can't actually force them to give you information, but you're going to make a note, time, date. I asked them this question. I asked them to provide this information, and they will proceed with the transaction.
Because they're just a customer, right?
Yep, and they're a customer. Exactly. That's also another reason too. So you can't force them to do anything in that. So
even on a regular buyer representation, still you just have to make a note that you asked for it, but they're refusing to give it to you.
Yeah, the only thing you're required to do on your part is if they look like a suspicious couple, you've got to report it.
Okay.
So, but if they don't look suspicious to you, you can put down in your file that they refuse to give it to you based on the fact that they don't feel they need to provide it, and they've already signed the buyer customer service agreement.
And just do you make them sign next to the note or anything to say like they agree that they're denying
Yeah, you can make a note on the form yourself and sign it, or you can ask them to sign it. Just saying that you don't want to provide any further information. That's good too.
Yeah, okay.
That's fine. Whichever one works better, but you want to have something that you prove. You can have proof that you gave it to them, and they said no, I don't want to sign it. They can just prove that not willing to provide information. Just sign the bottom of that. And now we're at 20. So salesperson Garcia of ABC Realty has prepared an offer for her buyer client dated 15 of May. The buyers want to give at least 2 days to the seller to consider the offer. The offer is conditional upon arranging a home inspection within 10 business days of the acceptance. The completion date is approximately 2 months away from the offer date. Garcia inserts the following information on the agreement. So she puts irrevocability by the buyers for May 17th, 10 p.m. Completion date is July 20th. Title search is May 20th. So what problems or concerns do you see in these dates?
The irrevocability by May 17th.
No, that's okay. They wanted to give 2 days to the seller to consider the offer.
Yeah.
And they met up on the 15th, so giving irrevocability till the 17th is okay.
Title search, I think, is a little bit
too early. So A is the answer. Title search is way too early. It should have been sometime in July.
Okay.
Or it should have been at least end of June. But
okay.
May 20th is way too early, so that's not going to work. And then we've got 21. Buyer's lawyer requests the seller's lawyer that the needs of the survey of the property in order to proceed with the completion of the transaction. The seller expresses his inability to provide one. Which is the following valid options for the buyer? So the valid option here would be for 21 would be close the deal without the survey. That could be one option. Or what I would say, I don't think that's the correct answer. I had it marked down in our answer notes as B, but from what I'm looking at, the answer is going to be D. The buyer must obtain title insurance in the absence of a survey. That's the correct answer.
That's pretty common sense.
Yeah, so that's the correct answer. So 21 is D. I'm not sure why that's in our notes incorrectly, but I'll get that corrected. So just remember that answer. That's title insurance.
Common sense anyway.
Yeah, just so it's clear. 22 is the salesperson award of XYZ Real Estate has received an offer for $359 from salesperson Garcia of ABC Realty. The buyers have a deposit of $10,000 upon acceptance of the offer, and another deposit of $10,000 when the conditions are fulfilled by the buyer. Salesperson looks at Schedule A of the offer, finds the following clause: the buyer agrees to pay a further sum of $10,000 by negotiable check to ABC Realty no later than the date set for fulfillment of conditions by the buyers. This amount is for supplementary deposit until the completion or other termination of this agreement, and that is credited towards the purchase price upon the completion of this transaction. What problem do you see with this clause?
It is unclear when this amount is to be submitted. I don't think it's C, because it's not unclear. It's upon the completion of the. Didn't it say that upon the completion?
It says that the word subject to adjustments is missing.
This is the part where.
But it's a supplementary deposit, so it's not really subject to adjustments yet, because the actual purchase price is subject to adjustments itself. The amount given is certified. No, that's not correct. It is unclear. And the amount submitted. No, that's not right. The answer would be D. There's no provision that the amount should be held in trust, in the trust account.
Oh, right.
So that's the only thing that should be in that clause that's important, is that it should be held in trust.
Okay.
Because that's a requirement. So that's important. So the answer would be D on that one. 23. Seller Smith received an offer for his property, which is an irrevocable date at 5 p.m. the next day. He accepted the offer and called his sales representative, but he did not call back until 4:30 p.m. the next day. The salesperson took the accepted offer from the seller, Smith, and called the listing person about acceptance of the offer. He then faxed the offer to the listing brokerage at 5:15 p.m. The listing salesperson then presented the offer, accepted by the seller to his buyer client. Then it says, here, 1, the buyer may sign the offer and sign acknowledgement anytime as the offer has already been accepted. The buyer may refuse to sign acknowledgement as the irrevocable time has expired. The listing salesperson should tell the buyer to sign the accepted offer and insert 4:30 p.m. time. The contract will be binding as the offer accepted has been confirmed. Which of the following statements is correct for 23?
So he accepted another offer within the irrevocable period of a different offer, but he didn't fax until after the irrevocable period.
Yeah, I think what happened here is that he accepted the offer and called the salesperson, but could not call back until 4:30 the next day. The irrevocable was until 5 p.m. He faxes the offer at 5:15. The listing salesperson then presented the offer, accepted it by his seller to his buyer client. So he accepted it after. So it just says which one would be correct. And it says the buyer may sign the offer acknowledgement anytime after the offer has already been accepted. The buyer may refuse and accepted. So the offer was accepted after he faxed it at 5:15. So irrevocability is like really gone. So the confirmation had to be done before then. So that's the first one's not right. The second one is not right because the times is the buyer can refuse. Not really because he already signed it, but he's not refusing anything because it's already done. So they're trying to get this offer accepted. So that's not really correct. The listing salesperson should tell the other buyer to sign and insert that's false. That's not allowed.
Yeah.
The contract will be binding because the offer has been confirmed. Not really because the irrevocability time has passed. So the offer is pretty much gone null and void. So it's none of the statements are correct.
Okay.
So it's D. 24. Jerry is a listing salesperson for 123 Main Street at 6 p.m. on Friday, 18th of March. He received an offer for the property from a cooperating brokerage. It's irrevocable till 12:30 on Monday, March 21st, so 3 days later. It's got irrevocability. Jerry is going away for the weekend, but he will be returning at late Sunday night. As a result, he did not call his seller until 8 a.m. on Monday to let him know that there was an offer. That doesn't sound too good. An offer presentation was scheduled for 9 a.m. on Monday morning. Has there been any violation? So the
So would D be correct?
Let me see.
Some of these questions on the exam I literally have to read like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, no, that's why I wanted to just double check it before.
Did one of your past students do this exam?
Yeah, they did. So I think right here is ethically, when you got the offer, you should immediately advise the client and arrange an offer presentation time.
Yeah.
But on the exam, they had the answer as B. saying that no, the offer presentation is taking place well before the end of the irrevocability period and the seller has not been disadvantaged. That's what it says.
Okay, I guess so, yeah.
I guess so too, because it's irrevocable for 3 days, and if you didn't call him immediately, I think he should have. Personally, we would all probably select D, but our exam confirmation.
The part is that it's not, your irrevocable period isn't anytime close, so.
It's not, exactly. Like, if you get an offer and the irrevocability is a week away, you could say, like, hey, I'll come see you Monday, but it doesn't, if I see him at 9 a.m. on Monday, we still have the whole day until 12. We can fax the offer back at 10 a.m. and we've got the whole business day to do the offer. So there's no disadvantage to the seller, so I guess that is correct according to the exam. I'd prefer D myself, but that's not what they're looking for.
Yeah, well, I get that. Like, that's how you practice your own business, but B was the
yeah, exactly. I mean, if you got the offer Friday night and you're going away for the weekend, you have to take off. I guess those are normal situations that will happen.
Yeah.
25 is Jim is the owner of 123 Main Street. He has signed an OREA listing agreement with a commission rate of 5%. The listing brokerage brings on a firm offer with no conditions for $275, which is accepted by Jim. However, the sale does not close as a result of the buyer not being able to obtain financing. Will Jim still owe the listing brokerage a commission? And the answer would be for 25 is B. It says no, the listing agreement specifies the commission is only payable on non-completion of the transaction if it is a fault of the seller.
Okay.
So he doesn't owe any more money unless it was his fault.
Okay, right.
So if he said, you know what, sorry, I got to keep the property for my son, he owes 5% then.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and 26 is the property at 55 Willis Lane is listed with ABC Realty utilizing an OREA listing agreement. The listing salesperson has a receipt of 2 offers on the property. One of the offers is from a buyer represented by a cooperating broker, and the other is a buyer named Ahmed who has signed an OREA, like a BRA, with ABC Realty. So he's coming from the same brokerage. So they have one of their own buyers, and then they have a cooperating broker. So he informs the cooperating broker that an Ahmed of the competing offers, so that he discloses it to both of them. Ahmed then demands to know the details of the other offer, since ABC Realty has a copy of that and is representing him and owes him fiduciary duty of full disclosure. How should ABC Realty proceed and why? So the answer is 26A. ABC Realty should not disclose any details of the offer from the cooperating brokerage, and this was agreed to in the buyer representation agreement that's signed by Ahmed.
Right, yeah.
Simple as that. But you're not allowed to do it anyways, but it's signed in the BRA, which is fantastic.
Okay.
So 27 is Ahmed has just been shown Suite 204 at 123 Main Street, and which is a cooperative building. He's impressed and would like to make an offer on the unit. What is being purchased by Ahmed is what it's asking. So the answer is A is the exclusive right to occupy the use of the suite and shares in the capital of the corporation that owns the property. That's what a cooperative is.
Okay.
So that's the answer is A.
Okay, so he gets a share. Okay.
Yeah, he has the exclusive right to occupy the suite. And he's buying the shares and the capital of the corporation that owns the whole property.
Okay.
So say there's 4 suites, he's probably buying 25% of the shares for that proportion.
Okay.
28 says John bought a brand new 2-story home and took possession on the 15th of January, and on May 20th of the following year, John sold the property to Judy, and the transaction closed 2 months later in July. Which within a month of the closing, Judy finds several of the interior doors are no longer opening and closing properly as a result of being improperly installed by the builder. So would Judy be able to claim under the Tarion Home Warranty Program for this problem?
Okay, so it's within 15th of January. Okay, so that's when I have to remember the dates of the.
So this is for door installation. This is for workmanship.
So that's 1 year, right?
1 year.
Okay.
So 1 year's passed. 1 year's passed.
Yeah.
Okay. So the answer for 28 is C. It says no, this problem would not be covered by the 7-year home warranty because that's her next warranty.
Okay.
So
Tarion is transferable.
Yeah, it's transferable. You have to actually do that, anyways, because it's on the property, not on the owner.
Okay, got it.
So it's C because it falls in workmanship, but it's not covered by this 7-year home warranty that's left for her.
Okay.
Okay, because
So
remember
that was one of the questions.
remember the 2-year was for like plumbing, heating, electrical,
non-structural
windows,
cosmetic.
you know. So it doesn't apply to this one. So yeah. So let's go to 29 here. Which of the following situations must be reported by a registrant to FinTrack? So it's going to ask you which ones have to be reported. $5,000 in cash is handed over by a buyer to a salesperson as a deposit to offer on a property.
I think it's number 3.
Three?
It's over $10,000.
Yeah.
In cash.
Yeah. So over $10,000 cash, 11,000 cash handed over, and that would be C.
Okay.
So that's the right one. So the answer is C. It's actually C is 2 and 3.
Well, buyer gave $6,000 deposit.
And then another 7,000 in cash.
Oh yeah, okay, 100%.
So 2 and 3. So number 30 is registrants should ensure that all registered owners' names appear on the agreement of purchase and sale that will sign the agreement. Which of the following statements is correct related to owners and signatures? So the answer is A. It says when dealing with a corporation in lieu of a seal, the person signing the offer should have signing authority, and beside their signature they should write, I have the authority to bind the corporation.
Okay.
Okay. 31. So 31 is John has successfully passed the 80-hour Course 3 General Advanced Residential Exam and has submitted his application to RICO. He intends to work as a full-time salesperson with ABC Realty and is now waiting to obtain confirmation from RICO. Which of the following activities can John get involved in while waiting for his registration?
Okay. Build database.
Yeah, build a database of potential clients and list of his friends, acquaintances, business contacts. That would be A. He can do that.
Yeah.
He can build a database. B. He cannot call friends. C. Develop marketing material. He cannot do that. And D. Assist in an open house, and he cannot do that either.
So you can't call friends.
Nope. He can develop a database though. He can write a list of his friends.
But he can't call them and say,
Nope.
I'm getting into real estate?
Nope.
Okay.
Because he's soliciting. He doesn't have a RICO license. Can't solicit without your RICO license.
I might have already done that, but we'll just keep
Well, according to the exam, you can't do that.
Okay.
So we're just trying to remember the points on the exam.
So you can't do anything. That makes sense. It's another common sense question.
Yeah.
Okay.
32D is the answer. So 32 says a mortgage is in default. What would most likely be the reason why a lender would choose a parcel as a remedy? D says because it's relatively inexpensive and the most fair to the mortgagor.
Okay.
That's why.
So the mortgagor and the mortgagee, I always get those confused.
Mortgagor is the person taking the mortgage.
Okay. All right. I'll just have to remember it's the opposite of the obvious for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
So, an environmental contractor who is working on remedial steps and costs associated with the process is performing the following stages of environmental audit. Which one is it?
This I have no idea what this even is.
Okay, so when an environmental contractor is working on the remedy, that's known as...
So cleaning up an oil spill, like that type of thing?
Yeah, like if he'll go and identify and do an environmental and see what's the problem.
Okay.
That'll be phase 1. Phase 2, he'll probably do the testing. Phase 3, he's working on the remedy steps and the costs associated with processing that. So 33 is C, so it's actually phase 3 when he's following the stages of the environmental audit.
Okay.
Okay.
And then what, 4 would be like the inspection?
4 would probably be the actual job going down.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. So 34 is which of the following statements is correct regarding stigmatized properties? The answer for 34 is C, says stigma can remain as such for many years, particularly given the widespread media coverage and associated notoriety. So it all depends, like, because now we have social media, so if a property was haunted or whatever,
Right.
it can just go on forever and ever. People can talk about.
Stigma count as like a grow up, or is that an official
Stigma
thing?
can be like someone killed themselves in the home,
Okay.
and it's like a bad thing associated, like a reputation with that home. Or
so
yeah,
if you find out 30 years ago someone killed themselves, you have to disclose that.
Yep, you do. To disclose everything that you know. Like if you know it, you got to disclose. If you didn't know, it's different. But if you know, you have to disclose it. So 35 is developer Andrew is planning to renovate an existing old factory and convert it into condominium lofts. The property, in addition to a factory, contains 8 existing row houses, which will be retained, renovated, sold as condominium townhomes within the same development. Will Tarion warranty cover Andrew's project if he is a registered builder with Tarion?
I don't know the answer to this one.
The answer for 35 is B. It says no, because the condominium units are not new, but only renovated.
Oh, okay.
So they're not covered, because it has to be.
The word in the question was planning to renovate an existing factory.
Yeah, it has to be brand new construction.
Okay.
So that's a problem when you look at some of those older lofts that are converted. So you got to be careful on that.
Okay.
So 37 is a disturbance resulting in a complaint for the purposes of a hearing before normal farm practices board. So somebody's farming on their land, making a whole bunch of tractor noise,
Yeah.
whatever the case is there. It's asking what's like a disturbance resulting in the complaint of these purposes of a hearing before the normal board, and it's asking you what's that likely mean. The answer is C. It says it might involve an agriculture operation that specializes in beekeeping.
Okay. That doesn't seem like too popular of a question, but
just so you know,
I'll try and remember.
Just remember beekeeping. Let me just actually plug in my scope on the charger here. There we go. Okay, we move on to 38. Which of the following statements is correct regarding vacant land? The answer would be A for 38, and that says a vacant parcel of land which has not been yet severed can't be offered for sale until such severance is approved.
Okay.
So a vacant piece of land, you can't actually sell it until the severance has been approved. That's it. Okay.
Obviously, because then you'd be buying the entire chunk.
Yeah, that's exactly what you would have to do, because it's not actually there severed, so you can't actually buy it. So 39D, 39 is the answer is D. The question is, which of the following statements are true about heritage property designation? D says an owner still enjoys all the rights of fee simple ownership even if the property is designated as a heritage property. You can.
So he enjoys all the rights of it. Now, what about like renovating and stuff? Would that be a right of fee simple that he can't do?
The fee simple ownership is that you can have a barbecue in the back, you can live there, watch your TV, you can do all the things that you do in your home.
Okay.
You can landscape it. You just can't alter the building certain designations. Like you can't change the internal external situations of the home. Okay. So the heritage status may restrict internal external changes to the structure. Even that's true too. So some of these are all even that one is also true.
Yeah.
It says the local committee is appointed by Ministry of Affairs and Housing to grant approvals, alteration and renovation, and even that's true as well. And so they've taken D as an answer.
Okay.
So the owner still enjoys fee simple as a property is designated. So they're asking you just which one of the functions is true about heritage property designation. So I guess they're asking about the designation part. They're not asking about other things.
Okay.
So according to the designation, the owner can still enjoy, as he designated, he's still a fee simple property firm. He can still enjoy things in there. So I guess it's for when it, and the property says what's true about heritage property designation.
Okay.
Then that's the answer for that one. Then 40 is the chattels included and fixtures excluded clauses are for protecting the most interest of the buyers as well as the sellers. If you were working with the buyer preparing an agreement purchase and sale, there are certain built-in items that do not seem to fit in any one, two of these categories, what would you do? So the answer for 40 is A. You would include the items in the agreement so that there is no confusion at a later date.
Okay.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
41 is, what is the purpose of the reserve fund in a condominium? And the answer for 41 is D. It is used for major repairs and replacement of common elements in corporation assets. Okay.
Okay.
42. Which of the following statements is correct in respect to a condominium? 42. The answer is C. The condominium is created by the registration of the condominium declaration and description.
Okay.
So when you create a condominium, you're like basically shouting out to the government. You're like, hey, this is going to be a condominium. You're declaring it, and then your description is going to provide what everything is going to entail.
Okay.
So the description is going to have all of the information related to that condominium.
All right. Just for the case study, just pick one of them. Let's just do one.
All right. Let me see which one looks good here.
Well, there's three of them, so 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah, I think we'll do this one over here, which is number 45.
Okay, the last one, or the 45. All right. That's this one. Got it.
45. It says on December 10th, the owners decide to sell their property at Edge Road.
Yeah.
And they list it with a salesperson Ward of ABC Realty at 3 p.m. on December 14th. Ward phones O'Leary's to tell them that. Ward phones the O'Leary's to tell them that there will be a showing of the property at 8:30 on December 15th. O'Leary's are not happy about this based on the provisions of the Residential Tenancies Act. Do you have any concerns with this showing? Okay.
Okay.
So it says the answer is A. It says yes, the written notice is required for the showing, and the showing must take place before 8 p.m.
Isn't the only thing you have to give 24 hours notice?
Yeah, it's 24 hours notice usually.
He's complied with that because it's
yeah.
Days. Is there another rule that says it has to be before 8 p.m.?
It could just be that it's late.
Okay, right.
Yeah, so it says here that yes, the written notice is required for showing, and the showing must take place before 8 p.m. because that's usually the way it's structured.
Okay.
Okay, so that's one thing he should do. That's why they're probably not happy about it.
Okay.
So the case study now, that was 45. The next case study here. So let's do this case study now. That was a part of it though.
Okay.
Well, that's part of the other case study, Ben and Larry. So what we'll do, we'll just do this next one right here. I wanted to cover this one.
Okay.
It says on 5th of May 2009, Sarah Grimm, salesperson with ABC Realty, is preparing an offer at a property at Sampson Court for her client Judy Dempster. The property is listed with XYZ. So she's with ABC. The property is listed with XYZ. Judy would like to offer $215,000 for the property. There is an existing first mortgage at 7%. Judy's willing to assume in order to help the seller avoid a penalty. Judy's willing to assume and to avoid the penalty. To make the sale more attractive to Judy, the seller is willing to do a take-back mortgage for $25,000 at 5% to give her something back.
Yeah.
So Judy's willing to pay the balance of the purchase price with her own cash, her own resources. The offer is for $215,000 with a $10,000 deposit submitted and accepted, and is conditional until May the 11th. The buyer is being approved to assume the seller's first existing mortgage. The following mortgage clause appears in Schedule A. It says this offer is conditional upon the buyer agreeing to assume the existing mortgage held by lender for approximate amount of $140,000, bearing the interest rate of 8%, calculated semi-annually, repayable of $1,015.60, both principal and interest due on the 17th of December 12th. Unless the buyer gives notice in writing to the seller not later than 6 p.m. on the 11th of May that this condition is fulfilled, this offer shall become null and void. The buyer hereby agrees to proceed immediately to make an application to provide such material required to the mortgage company, the mortgagee. Right?
Okay, yeah.
The buyer agrees to give the seller a take-back second at $25,000, bringing the interest rate to 5%. And then the payments are going to be $164.28 per month based on a 20-year amortization and a term of 5 years. So the offer signed by Judy on 6 p.m. on May the 5th is irrevocable until 6 p.m. May the 7th. Completion date is set for July 12th. So 46 says, how would Sarah Graham have explained the irrevocable time period in clause 1 for this offer to Judy? So 46's answer is B. You are giving the seller until 6 p.m. on the 7th of May to consider and accept the offer. You are agreeing not to withdraw the offer within that period.
Okay, so it's really not. So we're assuming, because when I see a question like this, I get up my calculator, assuming I have to check all the facts. But it'd be smart to read all the answers first to see if that's even necessary like this.
Right, because you're agreeing not to withdraw from the offer in this time period. That's what a irrevocable period is.
Okay, so that's an easy question.
Yeah, that's the first part of it. Okay. And then it says 47 goes on. I think that's the second part of it.
Yeah.
And 47 says, based on the information provided in the scenario, do you have any concerns on the way the first mortgage clause was drafted?
Okay.
Yeah, I think we do. Our first one is A, which is yes, the assumption of the mortgage should have been conditional upon the mortgagee's approval.
Okay.
That's the part that's missing. Because it says that she agrees to assume it. Who said that the bank's going to approve it yet?
Right, yeah. That's
so it needs to be conditional upon the mortgagee approving her because she might not qualify for it.
Okay, so that's a pretty straight.
So that was one of the main concerns I was reading while I was reading that clause, so I knew something was already missing.
Yeah, okay.
So those are the kind of things you're looking for, so I hope that helps you.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I'll stop the recording on this one, and